The community pool siren is howling, the lifeguard is blowing his whistle like it owes him money, and Beatrice Latimer, Cedar Hollow's HOA compliance czar, has both hands on my son's shoulders, shoving him under the water while shouting that there's no recording allowed in the pool area. Eli's phone bobs on the surface like a buoy. People freeze with pool noodles suspended in midair. When Eli breaks the surface coughing and gasping, Beatrice hisses at him to delete the video, and she reaches for the phone again just as the lifeguard vaults off his chair and tackles her into the shallow end. I'm Marcus Hale. I moved to Cedar Hollow to finish my novel in peace, which is to say, to format spreadsheets in peace while pretending I'm still a writer. I'm a quiet guy. I grill on Sundays, I alphabetize my spices, I trim my hedges like they're my eyebrows, carefully and once a month. My 14-year-old son, Eli, lives with me half the week. He's part Boy Scout, part junior documentarian. If it moves or lies, he films it with his phone. Beatrice Latimer introduced herself on day 2 with a laminated binder and a smile folded like origami. She said that as chair of Community Harmony, she curates standards. Translation: she collects power like seashells. She cited me for non-compliant wind chime tones on my first week, then for a mood-disruptive doormat. Cedar Hollow, it turns out, has a rulebook thick enough to stun a buffalo and thin enough to interpret however Beatrice wants. Every page has her fingerprints on it, and every clause seems designed to give her an excuse to knock on your door with that clipboard and that smile that doesn't reach her eyes. All spring, the letters arrived in my mailbox like clockwork. One said my hydrangeas were audacious. Another claimed my trash bins could not be visible to birds. She slipped through my side gate to photograph my garden hose for being too serpentine, whatever that means. She cornered Eli at the mailbox to lecture him about youth loitering, which is apparently what teenagers call standing upright in their own neighborhood. Every interaction with her felt like being inspected by someone who really wanted to find something wrong. Then the rumors started circulating on the neighborhood app. Beatrice suggested that Eli was posting compromising videos of residents online. He wasn't doing anything of the sort. He was filming squirrels building nests and occasionally catching funny moments at the skate park. But Eli, fueled by righteous tween energy and a camera phone with unlimited storage, decided if he was going to be accused of being a troublemaker, he might as well earn the title. That's how he caught Beatrice in the act. During adult lap hours at the community pool, he was filming the sunset reflecting off the water when he accidentally captured something far more interesting. Beatrice was lip-locked with Graham Weatherly, the married HOA president. Not just married to anyone, but married to Maureen, the treasurer, the chief signer of Beatrice's paychecks for her so-called consulting work. Eli didn't set out to blow up anyone's marriage. He was documenting hypocrisy the way birders document rare herons, just happening to be in the right place at the right time with a camera rolling. But Beatrice saw the lens pointed in her direction. Her eyes went shark flat in an instant. She whispered something urgent to Graham, and he bolted from the pool area like his clothes were on fire. Then she turned her attention to Eli, and I could see from across the parking lot that something was very wrong. She started walking toward him with purpose, and not the friendly kind. Beatrice flagged Eli down near the pool snack bar. She told him they needed to talk, her voice sweet as rainwater poured over batteries. Eli, being 14 and built mostly of curiosity and a misplaced sense of invincibility, followed her toward the deep end. She leaned in close to him, close enough that other parents started noticing. She told him quietly but firmly to delete that video. Eli said he couldn't do that. He told her that his dad says the truth has multiple versions, but the camera only has one. For the record, I do say that occasionally, mostly because it makes me sound like I actually wrote that novel. Beatrice's smile fell off her face like a mask. She shoved him backward. He went into the water, phone and all, arms flailing in surprise. When he surfaced, sputtering and confused, she pushed him again, this time harder, forcing his head under the water with both hands on his shoulders. For a second everything became white noise and bubbles and the muffled sounds of people screaming underwater. The lifeguard blew his whistle so violently it sounded like a tea kettle dying. Parents around the pool started screaming. A little kid with arm floaties yelled that the lady needed to stop. The scene was absolute chaos, and I was running full sprint from the parking lot, my heart pounding in my chest like it was trying to escape. The lifeguard dove into the pool, hauled Eli up by his armpits, and physically wedged himself between my kid and Cedar Hollow's own personal kraken. Beatrice clawed desperately for the phone bobbing in the water nearby, her face twisted with panic and rage. The lifeguard grabbed her wrist firmly and told her to stop, using his professional voice that somehow carried authority even while standing waist-deep in chlorinated water. She tried to lunge past him, but he blocked her path, keeping Eli safely behind him. I arrived at poolside to a scene that looked like it belonged on a suburban crime podcast. There was a crowd of shocked parents, a soaked tyrant dripping and wild-eyed, and my kid coughing up what seemed like half the pool while clutching his phone. Eli managed to gasp out that she pushed him, holding up the still-recording phone in a waterproof case so tough it deserved its own medal. The little red recording light was still blinking. Everything was on camera. Everything. You know what beats a laminated binder full of petty HOA rules? A video with crystal-clear sound and footage. Eli's clip caught the kiss by the pool, the whispered demand, the first shove, and the second shove for good measure. It caught Beatrice saying delete it like she was some kind of exorcist trying to banish reality itself. It also caught Graham, the HOA president, sprinting out of frame with the speed of a man who suddenly remembered he had a dentist appointment in another country. The responding police officer watched the footage twice, his expression growing more serious each time. Then he radioed for a supervisor, speaking in that calm cop voice that means someone is in deep trouble. A city safety inspector, alerted by the dispatch call, strolled onto the pool deck like a man arriving at an all-you-can-eat buffet. He took one look at Beatrice's claws-out performance still being restrained by two other parents now, and another look at the banner hanging over the pool that read pool safety is everyone's job with Beatrice's smiling face on it. He let out a low whistle of disbelief. Beatrice tried every excuse in the book. She claimed she was stabilizing Eli in the water. She said he slipped and she was trying to help. She insisted he had threatened her first. And my personal favorite, she declared that as community harmony chair, she was empowered to seize contraband. The officer blinked slowly at her and asked for clarification. Contraband being a teenager's phone, he asked with barely concealed incredulity. She didn't seem to realize how absurd she sounded. Witness statements started stacking up like patio furniture at a summer clearance sale. The lifeguard's testimony was damning and detailed. Parents who had been poolside came forward one after another, all telling the same story. The lifeguard's whistle, still hanging around his neck, had become a kind of metronome for justice. By the time the paramedics cleared Eli, confirming he was scared and scraped up but ultimately okay, the officer was asking Beatrice to place her hands behind her back. The charges were assault and child endangerment. Her jaw made a noise like a garage door opener that had finally decided it was done working. Cedar Hollow convened an emergency HOA meeting in the clubhouse 2 days later, under fluorescent lights that made everyone look like suspects in a police lineup. Maureen, treasurer and newly furious spouse, brought brownies and wore the 1,000-yard stare of a woman who had seen too much. The projector hummed to life. Up on the screen came Eli's unblinking footage, the kiss, the shove, the lifeguard takedown, all of it in high definition. Then came a bonus reel, compilation clips from other parents' phones, showing Beatrice lunging for the bobbing phone like a raccoon going after a shiny object. The room gasped collectively, then began to rumble with angry murmurs. Maureen stood up slowly, her chair scraping against the floor. She announced that effective immediately, Graham was removed as president. She turned to face Beatrice, who was sitting in the back corner with her attorney. Maureen declared that Beatrice was barred from every amenity managed by the HOA. The city inspector, standing near the door with his arms crossed, added that those adult lap hours Beatrice had created to curate privacy weren't actually in the city code. The HOA would be issued fines for the unauthorized policy. Beatrice's attorney attempted some kind of legal flourish about youth manipulation and disparate splashing, using words that sounded important but meant nothing. But the police officer standing at the back of the room coughed loudly, reminding everyone that he had the official arrest report and witness statements in his possession. The attorney's words died in his throat. The board called for a vote. It was unanimous to remove Beatrice permanently from any HOA position, refer her conduct to the district attorney, and redirect the legal fund, formerly her consulting gravy train, toward installing security cameras and retraining staff on how not to assault minors. As a final action, Maureen unveiled what she called the Eli Hale rule. Any board member engaging in surveillance or confrontation with minors would be immediately suspended pending review, with a mandatory 100-foot distance from pools, ponds, and fountains. The room erupted in applause like someone had just canceled Monday. Beatrice sat frozen in her chair, her face the color of old newspaper, unable to process that her reign of petty tyranny had ended not with a whimper but with a spectacular, recorded, legally actionable explosion. 3 weeks later, Beatrice stood in municipal court and pled down to misdemeanor assault and child endangerment. The judge sentenced her to 18 months of probation, mandatory anger management classes, and 100 hours of community service. Her community service assignment was to skim leaves from the very pool she had weaponized, working under the watchful eye of the same lifeguard who had pulled my son from her grasp. The lifeguard now blows his whistle with jazz timing whenever she gets within 10 feet of the deep end. A civil restraining order keeps her a polite bubble away from Eli and me, at least 200 feet at all times. The district attorney also pursued civil penalties. Beatrice was fined $8,000 for reckless endangerment and abuse of her HOA position. When the judge read the amount, her face went from newspaper gray to chalk white. She gripped the defendant's table so hard her knuckles cracked. Her attorney put a hand on her shoulder, but she shrugged it off, staring straight ahead like she was trying to wake up from a nightmare. The judge asked if she understood the terms. She nodded once, barely, her mouth pressed into a thin, bloodless line. That was it. That was the moment Beatrice Latimer realized that all her laminated binders and petty power plays had led her exactly here, standing in a courtroom, broke and disgraced, with nothing left but a mop and a pool full of leaves.